And all right, here we go. Welcome to 2019. I know a lot of guys had great years last year. I'm looking forward to a spectacular year this year, and pulling you guys forward and dragging you along, kicking and screaming if I have to. So one of the things we did last year when we started the year off was we kind of did a little bit of a back look, looking back at the previous year and seeing what we did well and what we didn't. And hopefully that will set the stage for moving forward. And, this really comes down to sales, because that's what it's really all about. Growing your business is about acquiring customers and making sales. So in that process, you've got two things. You can either acquire more customers, or you can sell more things to the same existing customers. One or the other, you've got to be doing those, or a combination of both, to actually grow and move forward. So that's what I want to talk about here, is kind of some of the variables, some of the things you want to look at and measure as far as how well you did last year, and make those adjustments for this year so you can actually do better. So the first question comes down to how many, and this is a multi-stage question here. The first thing on how many is, how many products did you create last year? How many new products or existing products did you put on the market? How many products did you have available to sell? And is that number going to increase this year, or are you set? Do you have everything in place and you're all ready to go? You just need to ramp up the sales. So that's the first thing. How many products do you have in play, and how many are you creating? How many are in process? The next is, for those products, how many different offers do you have? How many offers did you make last year? And when I say offers, I'm talking about landing pages. I'm talking about different various offers to different audiences. You can make multiple offers for the same product, even to the same audience. They call those big ideas. A big idea might sell to one person on one day when it might not sell to them on another day. Sometimes big ideas are keyed in on something that's going on in the media. Sometimes it's going on in their life. So it's different angles. Frank Kern calls it angles of attack. Some of a lot of the ad world calls it big ideas. So whatever you want to call it, it's just a way to make an offer. It's that hook, it's that front end. How do you grab people's attention? So how many offers did you make? And are you going to make more offers this year? Hopefully that answer is yes. So that's what it's all about, is making more offers. The other thing, those are the two big ones, but then the other ones that fall right in behind that is mailings. How many times did you mail your list? How many offers did you make to grow your list? So you can see these things are kind of adding up. You've got products, you've got offers, and then you've got outreach, which could be mailings, it could be advertisements. But if you want to grow, if you want 2019 to look better than 2018, that's what it's all about. Make more products, make more offers, make more offerings, bring it out to more audiences, be it your internal mailing list or advertising out to the cold, hard world out there. That's the how many question. The next question is, how good was your targeting? How well did you implement the ACT program in all of this? Because targeting is the key to conversion. You can wind up spinning your wheels, making a lot of offers that are not converting. And that comes down to poor targeting. So that's the next thing that we need to be concerned with as we move to 2019. We want to make more of those things we just talked about, more products, more offers, more outreach, more advertisements, more exposure. And we want to have better targeting so we get better conversion. So those are the two big things we want to focus on moving forward this year. I know last year we spent a ton of time on these calls talking about analysis, getting the targeting right, which is, that's awesome. You've got to do that. If you don't do that, you won't convert. But I really want to stress this year how important it is to actually take some action and actually, get those offers up and get them out, get them seen. Any business, if you've got, if you look at any business, throughout history, it's got typically has salespeople that are a sales force of some kind, whether it's salespeople or, door to door or on the phone or something. They're bringing people's attention to offers. They've got sales processes in place. So it's a numbers game. And those numbers, the numbers is, again, it's how many offers were made, how many people saw it, how many people converted. So that comes down to, your force, your literal brute force into the market of making your offers and how good they are, how well they convert. So that's kind of the stuff I want to focus on, at least for the beginning of this call. We'll open it up and answer questions, as we go. But your targeting is going to equal increased sales volume. If you've got better targeting, that is going to get you better conversion. So you don't have to work as hard. And if you decide you want to work as hard, your numbers are going to increase radically. So that's what you want to do. That's what you want to focus on. So targeting equals number of sales, just like that. Now, for the targeting, there's a few different things inside that targeting that will make that improvement, that will make it improve. First of all is, how well was your targeting of your prospect's desire? How well did you go in and look at the timeline and do the empathy grid and figure out what they're really feeling, where they are, what's going on in their life? How well did you figure that piece out? That comes down to their desire. What do they really want? A lot of times we focus too much on what we've got and what we think, and we don't get into their head. So change gears a little bit and focus on them, focus on their desire. What's important to them? What did they really want? And go well beyond. I know we talk about this pretty deep in the training of generally what you think they want is just the superficial front end. It's not really it. Like when we talk about the difference between men and women, there's very deep down desires for women to be secure. There's very deep down desires for men for freedom, and not to say that doesn't cross the lines and go both ways, but those are core desires. So look at the desires. Next, look at the language. What language do they speak? How well are you targeting their language? That's something very important. If you're not speaking their language, you're speaking a foreign language, and they don't communicate very well with that. So that's something you want to be careful of, is if you have an audience that is not very savvy in what you're selling and you're speaking technical jargon, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose their interest, and they're not going to relate to you, and they're probably not going to wind up buying. So your conversion is going to drop off. So be careful of that. Next is their objections. How well did you understand their objections? How well did you dig into that? A lot of that comes down to offers. Did you make enough offers to really find out what the objections were? Did you follow up to find out why people didn't buy? A lot of times the follow-up will lead to uncovering the objections. A lot of high-ticket sales, like if you've got high-ticket items, and you don't have somebody following up with a personal phone call to really find out why the person didn't move forward, first of all, you're not serving them very well, and you're certainly not serving yourself very well, because you're not figuring out, why didn't they move forward? What could you have done better? Typically, if somebody doesn't move forward, it's a lot of times based on a misunderstanding. Maybe they didn't understand, a piece of the puzzle. So it's just a matter of just, straightening that out and moving forward with it. And lastly, the buying triggers. What are the things that is going to make the offer just absolutely irresistible. Did you put contrasts in? Did you add the things that are really important to them? Did you really factor in three-dimensionalizing the benefits? Three-dimensionalizing the benefits is where you literally bring the outcome to life so they can feel it. In the real world, an example of that would be the used car salesman putting you behind the wheel and letting you test drive the car. It's one thing to look at the car and talk about the car, but it's a whole nother thing to actually sit in the seat and drive it and feel it. That takes you to a whole different level, because now you can think what it's going to be like to actually have that car parked in your driveway. Three-dimensionalizing the benefits, that's our tool that we have online to be able to do that. We can't physically reach through the computer and let somebody, test our product, but we can three-dimensionalize the outcome. So that's something, that you want to do. So those two things really are the big things that are going to be the drivers in your success for 2019. Again, it's back to how many products, how many offerings, how much outreach, how well did you bring that out to the world, and your targeting. And desire, language, objections, and buying triggers. Those are going to be the big factors. So I want to see you guys really put those into your playbook this year and think about, write it down, make a spreadsheet. And when you write down how many of those things you did last year, sometimes you'll really take a step back and kick yourself. You'll go, wow, I spent all year and I didn't even put out a product. Well, if you didn't put out a product, I can kind of estimate how well you did in sales. If you didn't make any offers, maybe you had your product lined up, but you were a little timid, you never made an offer. Well, again, that's going to tell me exactly how well you did with your sales. Maybe you had your offers, but you didn't run any ads. Again, when you write that stuff down and you look at it in black and white in front of you, it's like, wow, okay, I understand exactly how I did in 2018, and now I understand why. It becomes really, really clear. And that's the way you move forward. That's where you want to go. You want to look at that and you want to say, hey, how do I not repeat 2018 if that was your case? How do I make 2019 a winner? And this is how you're going to do it. Products, offers, and outreach, and targeting, desire, language, objection handling, and buying triggers. Those are going to be our big tools to make this year a winner. And this is the beginning of the year. You got a big runway, so there's no reason you shouldn't get your plane off the ground this year. All right, so when you do that, when you do your targeting and you create offers and you follow the system, the sequence, and you're speaking people's language, what's going to happen is you are going to wind up creating very relevant content. That's just going to happen by virtue of the way you do it. So when you create relevant content, one of the big things that you're going to get, and this is something that I've specialized in for over 20 years, is you're going to get search listings. The search engines are going to love you because you've created relevant content that people actually want. So I know there's a piece to our puzzle that is, we talk about how aware people are. And if people are aware of your product, they're actually searching for it. So when you're creating content, but here's the other thing, even if people are not aware of your product, maybe they're not even aware of the problem, they are aware of other things. You've got to figure out what they're aware of to create relevant content to grab their attention. Sometimes that just doesn't happen through search. There are a ton of keywords out there in search that no one is aware of and no one's searching for. Doesn't mean they're not great products. So if that's the case, then you need a different angle of attack. But if people are in awareness at any level, maybe they're aware of a problem, maybe they're aware of a solution, maybe they're aware of other products, whatever they are aware of, you need to figure that out in your basic analysis and your keyword research. Figure out what people are searching for so you can create relevant content. That's where you want to create content that grabs their attention. That's where your big ideas come from. Remember, when I talk about big ideas, I say they come out of your market. You don't come up with them. They are developed out of what's important to your avatar. So do that, that analysis, that research is really, really important stuff, but don't get stuck there. Get enough information to start creating products and creating offers and moving forward. But those search listings, what that's going to get you, that's going to get you the holy grail. That's what we call free traffic. And I've always said this, I use the word free traffic. There is no such thing as free traffic. You've got to create that content. It's going to cost you time at least. The very least, it's going to cost you your time to do that. But that free traffic that I refer to, that by far is the best traffic, the most high converting traffic you're ever going to see. If you get people that are coming through a search engine, they're looking for something. They are in process. They're hunting. And Google is making recommendations. Bing, Yahoo, whatever they're searching on, it doesn't matter what engine they're using. When they're in that mode, they are in the process of ask and receive. They're asking the search engine, hey, what about this? The search engine's coming back with, well, here's what I got. If you're in that loop, you can get the best traffic on the planet, the most high converting traffic that there is. There's no other form of advertising that is as good. The best form of advertising has always been word of mouth, right? Well, in the online world, search engine is the new word of mouth. It used to be you'd ask your neighbor, hey, what gardener do you use? Well, how often does that happen anymore? You barely see your neighbors. They're all inside on their computers, right? So this is the new thing. This is what people are asking, even older people. A lot of times the older the generation, the more they were out in the real world communicating with other people. Well, now even the elderly are on computers now. So, they've realized, hey, I don't have to get out. I don't have to expose myself to the world anymore. I can just sit here at home and communicate. I'm not saying that's right. It's kind of sad, actually, but it's the way it is. It's what's going on in our world. So the new word of mouth is search engines. So if you're creating relevant content, you're going to get that benefit. You're going to get that factor, and that can give you some serious momentum in your business. Think about that. Think about how powerful that would be if the biggest search engine on the planet was referring you. The word of mouth was you. And that's how you do it. You do it with relevant content. Yeah, SEO is a big, vast, deep tub of conversation, but the core of it is relevant content. Google's biggest algorithm that they've been playing with for the last few years is artificial intelligence. And the real bottom core of it is figuring out what people really want. So if you create relevant content, that is really what they've figured out from all of this that is important to people. Google knows if a person asks a question and they give them the wrong answer, they're not going to be happy. Google does not want that in their world. They want happy. They want happy people. So they want to provide the best, most relevant content. What's a better way for you to create relevant content than really figuring out, what your ideal customer wants and providing them that? Provide them good, useful stuff they can use. We talk about lead magnets in the creation process. The lead magnet, your best lead magnet that you can give somebody is something that would help them take the first step to get them to where they want on their timeline. The timeline says, hey, they're here, they're experiencing this problem. They don't want to be here, they want to be over there. They want to be their desired outcome. So what could you give them as a lead magnet that would give them that first step? It would give them some confidence to say, hey, I can actually do this. It'll move them forward. The closer they get to their desired outcome, the higher their desire to work with you is going to become. So that's your marketing campaign. And however you hook them, whether it's through a search engine, whether it's Google referring you, which you should be highly focused on making that happen if it's at all possible. And when I say at all possible, that means people would actually be searching for keywords that you can create relevant content for. So if that is possible, you should be highly focused on that. If it's not possible, let's say people are not aware of your offer and you need to access them in a different way, then you need to run ads. You need to get in front of them. You need to make presentations. Now, in the real world, that was a salesperson making calls. He would make call after call after call to try and set up appointments where he could make a presentation. That was a pure numbers game. If you look at any salesperson, their numbers at the end of the quarter or the whatever the period is was going to be how they were rewarded with pay and if they got to keep their jobs. So, sales are important. How many presentations you make. This is a whole different world here. We can leverage. We have the power of the internet to leverage that. But it's the same thing. If you don't make any of those initial calls, whether those be emails or ads or getting in front of search engines to get referred by Google, if you're not doing that, you'll never get the opportunity to make your presentations. You'll never get to present your offer. And if you don't present your offer, you're not going to make any sales. So I think I have beaten that horse to death in the last 25 minutes. But I seriously, guys, this is important. This is why you're here. Nobody is here because they want to be mediocre. I believe all of you guys are here because you want this next year to be spectacular. And there's no candy coating it. That's the only way that it's going to happen. You've got to get your numbers right. However it may be. You might do it through your mailing list. You might do it through paid ads. You might do it through search engine optimization. It doesn't really matter. It's just you've got to increase those numbers. So, all right, let's open it up. Anthony, go ahead.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hey, you too.
I have two questions. One is a technical question.
Okay.
You mentioned a couple of months ago on a call that you could point, you said that there's a loophole where you could point a new site at, if you have another site that has a landing page that's already ranking, you could point the new sites at the domain registry, at the second site's existing landing page. Would that work if, in three cases, if a site is in the 8-month sandbox with Google, would that work?
If it's in the sandbox and it's not listed or ranked, I would probably just leave it there.
Okay.
Typically if it's de-indexed, that's a 2-year sandbox.
Yeah, that's what it said. That wouldn't work either. A penalty, a site that's under a penalty.
A site that is under penalty, I would just leave it lay.
Okay.
Either you're going to go in, and there's one school of thought on that is going into Google Webmaster tools, figuring out what the offense was, fixing it, and begging for forgiveness. People have done that successfully, and there's no problem with that. You could easily do that. Like in my case, I've pushed a lot of sites over the years. I've pushed my test sites over the edge to see where the edges were and see how long it took to recover. And what I found was it's a 2-year penalty box if you get a site or a page de-indexed, where they throw it out of their index altogether. Now, as Anthony said, there's other sandboxes, so to speak, where Google doesn't trust something. Like a lot of times, if you come out with something new, they'll put it up, they'll test it, and then they'll sandbox it for a while. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to figure out if you're manipulating it. Like if, let's say you're doing a bunch of links. Let's say you've got something that, it looks like it might be unnatural, but not really. So what they'll do is they will take and they will drop your rank. And that's what we're referring to as the sandbox. And what they're looking for is they're looking to see if anything changes. They're looking to see if you all of a sudden switch direction in what you're doing because of what they did. And if you do, then they've got you. So it's like, I say this jokingly, never let them see you sweat when it comes to search engine optimization. If they drop your ranking, just continue doing whatever you're doing. That's the safest thing you could possibly do. Because after a while, they're going to say, well, since we did this, they didn't counter it, so it must have been real. And then once they lift the penalty off, it's like you've got diplomatic immunity. That is what I've seen over the years. Like sites that we put in that actually got de-indexed. We had sites and that we were doing some weird stuff to. It was never a client site. I've never had a client site banned or hit in any way. But we've done this to our personal sites, just like I said, as testing, for testing purposes to find out where the edges were. And those sites that got hit and they were down for 2 years, I just left them run. And the only reason I know that they came back in 2 years was I had AdSense on them. Those sites were just merely testing sites for me. And they paid me a little bit of money from the AdSense revenues. Now, when they got banned, the AdSense revenues obviously went to zero. And 2 years later, checks started coming back in. And I'm like, where are these checks coming from? And when I looked, it was those sites had come back to life. And it was exactly 2 years. I looked at the records, it was right to the day, 2 years down the line. Now, we actually took some of those sites that were in that 2-year penalty box, and we did some stuff that would have easily got them thrown back in there, and they were never thrown back in. So that's why I say I believe there's a certain amount of diplomatic immunity to them after you've come out of that. Mm-hmm. It's like a trust level. So so that's something that I have definitely seen throughout the years as a factor. But the other thing, especially if you're doing link building, let's say you're doing, a new link building campaign and you're really pouring the juice to it. And all of a sudden, Google will take your site and put it on the first page and you're all excited about it. And then 2, 3, 4 weeks later, all of a sudden it's not there anymore. And you go, holy shit, maybe I should stop the link building. Well, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. When they zig and you zag, then they got you. They know that you are watching, you are manipulating, and you are trying to counter their blocking. And if you get into that, then yeah, that'll get you into ugly territory. Yeah. So hold the course. Whatever you're doing, I really recommend holding the course. What I was referring to, I think on the call, I don't remember exactly what I was talking about at the time, but you can take sites and you can forward them. Like let's say you're creating a new domain and maybe you're switching your brand or something like that. And I actually had a situation myself with that just recently, and I've just figured out how to unravel it. So that was kind of cool. But when you're switching, if you've got a site that let's say you've got a bunch of links to it and you're going to change the domain for whatever reason, you can put a redirect and you can forward that link to the new page on the new site or the new domain or whatever. And all of that juice and horsepower that was going to that old page will forward through. There's also another benefit. If someone has, let's say somebody threw you under the bus and sent you in for, reported you for a bunch of spammy links. And Google, they don't necessarily penalize you for that because it's an off-page factor. But what they'll do is they'll take the juice away from the links so you don't get the benefit of them. And what I have seen, when you re-forward that stuff, it removes that factor. So the link juice comes back through.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I found that to be, kind of an interesting factor.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why you might want to forward them. But if you've got a site that's in a manual penalty or something like that, I would not, go ahead and force the issue and try and redirect that to another site to try and fix it.
Okay. Another thing I'm trying to figure out. I believe that you've said that now that authority sites are no longer what they used to be, and that shouldn't be the goal. Is that what authority sites are not, shouldn't be a goal of marketers? You should do more smaller sites, more targeted sites. I believe you've said that. Todd Spears, I was talking to him. He also agrees with that too.
Yeah.
He told me that authority sites, from what he's seeing, and he does a lot of this SEO stuff. He says authority sites are a thing of the past. You have to let them go, he told me. He said that what you want to do is be more surgical. He used the word surgical.
Yeah.
More hyper-targeted sites. This is the problem. I was looking at SEMrush the past couple of days, and all of the page one SERP, all of the sites on page one, at least in the niches that I'm in, weight loss, supplements, vitamins, they all seem like authority sites. They have 65,000 keywords, 80,000 keywords they're ranking for. They each have a minimum of 350 or 400 pages. So aren't those authority sites that are like, what don't I understand? Can you explain?
Sure, absolutely. The idea that an authority site is out the window isn't true. I mean, look at YouTube. So I believe what Todd was probably referring to was from a link building perspective. Trying to build your own authority sites for link building, that's probably, kind of a long past thing. Because what people used to do in SEO was they would build a bunch of these authority sites for link building purposes, and none of them were really relevant. So what happens with Google now, and the reason that Google is able to sweep this stuff out and just throw people under the bus now is because of the RankBrain algorithm. It's no longer good enough just to have good, high quality authority links coming in. They've got to carry traffic, and they've got to carry the right traffic, which is what I was referring to just recently here on this call about the relevance. Relevant content is what the search engines are looking for. They're not just looking for an authority link anymore. It's relevant content. And how Google or any other engine knows what relevant content looks like, it's when there's a link from one piece of content to another, how many people follow it, and what happens after they follow it. If it's not relevant, what's going to happen? They're going to bounce back. They're either going to go back, they're going to research, they're going to go down another link or something of that nature, but they're not going to continue on. If you've got really highly relevant content, or what you can make Google think is highly relevant content, then they're going to reward it. So if you've got, like YouTube, again, it ranks for thousands of sites. Any site, like if you have a product site and you've got a lot of really relevant content, let's say, let's say, for instance, you might have a supplement company. You might have, 10,000 different supplements. Each one is relevant to a different person for a different reason. So if you had, relevant content for every one of those, you might have 50, 60,000 pages. You might have a lot of keywords that are ranking. So that's probably what you're seeing in the SERPs, is you're seeing stuff that's the case. Or they've just created a monster amount of content around that happens to be pretty relevant. Time, they've got a lot of time. Also, traffic, whether the traffic comes through links or not, Google sees all the traffic. They might be running ads. They might be running email campaigns. They might be doing mail blasts. They might be doing all kinds of stuff to drive relevant traffic to those pages or to those offers, and be getting the juice off of all of that. So when your site turns into what you're referring to as an authority site, it will rank for many, many keywords, possibly tens of thousands of them. So the idea that that is out the window, no, that's what you want. You want to have an authority site for your business. You want your business to be an authority site if possible. It's not always possible. Not all of us have the opportunity to have that deep of content, to have 10,000 pages, of different relevant content. So, that's something. But as far as I believe what Todd Spears was referring to was from a search engine perspective for link building when he said that.
Okay.
So,
Jack, can I say something about relevance?
Sure, go ahead, Ted.
Google's probably getting like Facebook ads in a way. Facebook ads is starting to rely more and more on the relevance of your fan page. They're looking at age, how people react to it. They survey people that buy from you to see how your service is. And I think relevance is probably becoming the same with Google.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Google has different factors. I saw that video that you had sent me the other day about how Facebook was ranking their newsfeed stuff. And that, yeah, I believe that is absolutely 100% true. Facebook has signals like likes and shares. So if people are liking and sharing your content, it's going to be looked at as much more highly relevant. What Google has for those signals, it's all based on signals from users. That's what the whole algorithm for RankBrain is all about. It's user experience. Facebook has that tied in and locked because Facebook is all user experience. Facebook is a house where all its users, they know every step you make, everything you look at, how long you look at it, how you react to it. So they have all those signals right under one box. With Google, it operates outside the box and it operates on what happens after the click. So they measure that through safe web browsing. So they can see how long you're on a page, how many links you clicked inside that website, how long you stayed on the site overall, how far you scrolled. If you watched a video, did you watch it to completion, or did you hit the back button? All of those things are signals that Google is looking at for user experience. So yeah, you're right on the money, Ted. It's all about those signals, just like Facebook.
And Facebook is even they charge you more determined by your fan page.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's you need to build your audience now more and more.
Yeah, and I believe the reason that they do that, Google does the same thing. If you're running pay-per-click, pay-per-click has had a relevancy score for ages. Ever since it came out, it was based on a relevancy score. And the less relevant you were, the more they were likely to charge you more for the same ad. And it's all because they want a good user experience. They don't want garbage in their kitchen. That's what it's all about. So Facebook's the same thing. They don't want people coming in being able to run, low dollar ads and be putting people on stuff that's not good. And again, they look at what's good as based on their user, their tribe. How did their tribe react to it? How relevant was it? So relevancy is, that's user experience, to the core. And these guys are getting really good at measuring that. So it's getting harder and harder to operate if you don't have good relevant stuff. So again, back to what I said, you guys should focus 2019 on those key factors, figuring out your languaging, what people really want, building new products for it, making offers based on that. That's going to give you relevant content. And that, like I said, that is going to give you momentum in the search engines, because that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. If you're on board with them and you're working with them instead of against them, they're going to reward you. The whole search engine optimization world was built on working against them. And that has just come to a head. If you're on that side of the fence, God help you at this point, because they're really good at squashing you. So, you've got to get on their side. You've got to give them what they want if you want their love. And that's what everybody wants. They want the search love. That's what it's all about. That will make or break a business. I can't tell you how many businesses over the years, the amount of years I've been involved in search, I can't tell you the number of businesses I've seen go out of business because of Google. Google, they lost their love, and they had no more business. Their whole business was based on a sham. It was based on, how do I trick Google into sending its valuable traffic to my crappy offer? And when it went away, then so did their business. So, it's all about creating, figuring out, and this works anywhere. This works online and offline. Businesses offline that don't create, value to their customers, they typically go out of business.
So just one more thing. Creating value is one part of it. And creating, my old brain just lost it. Creating an audience now is becoming more and more important that reacts to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different ways to create audiences.
Yeah, an audience really, you're not creating an audience. The audience exists. It's just you're building your following.
Right.
It's more of a people that are aware of you. But those audiences, they exist out there. I mean, that's the importance of the whole analysis process, is to figure out, what audience is going to be profitable for you in targeting that audience. So when in the process of targeting, some people call it building a mailing list, some people call it building a tribe, some people call it getting followers. But how engaged those followers are, those are all going to send signals back to these big companies as to how relevant you are and how much of their traffic they want to give you and at what price. So that's kind of the, I believe that's probably somewhat close to the core metrics of it all right there.
Hey, John, I had a question.
Sure, go ahead.
A couple of weeks ago, you mentioned affiliate marketplaces like JVZoo, Warrior Forum. I went on JVZoo and spent quite a bit of time with their videos and the information they give you, but you can never talk to a live person. There's
Correct.
no live support. It gets confusing, and if you need to talk to somebody, there's no way to do that. Yeah. Are they all like that? Are all the affiliate marketplaces like that?
Yes, they really kind of are, and that's unfortunate. If you really want to get the inside track on those places and find out who to really talk to, you've almost got to meet them at different venues, different trade shows. Okay. Like there's a big one coming up. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's called it's the Digital Marketer Conference, Traffic and Conversion. It happens in San Diego, and I believe that's coming up either January or February this year. And it's a big one. There's like 6,000 people going to be there. Everybody who's anybody is going to have a booth there. So all those affiliates, those companies are all going to be there.
Okay.
And actually talk to a rep. You can get contacts inside. That's the best way I've seen to actually get to know somebody like that and be able to have somebody to actually communicate with.
Right. Is there anybody on this call, any participants that are working with affiliate marketplaces? Do you know?
Let's see. I'm not sure. Ted, have you worked with any of them? I don't know if Ted has worked with any of them or not. Probably
not for a long time. I try to find products that I like and do those. The commissions are usually more, and it's hard to work with affiliate networks.
Okay, so I'm not really trying to work with an affiliate network to sell somebody else's product.
He's trying to get his own product out in their affiliate network and give a product for their affiliates to sell.
Have you looked at YouTube videos?
No. What do you suggest?
Just look up what you want to find on YouTube videos. Tutorial on adding a product to JVZoo.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good place to start right there. But if you really need to talk to the people behind it, they're not readily accessible online. So you've got to really go out and rub elbows and get them at the affiliate summits and stuff like that. There's actually a thing called Affiliate Summit, and they've got 3 or 4 of them per year. They've got Affiliate Summit West. That typically happens in either Las Vegas or San Francisco, I believe. And then they've got it also in New York, and they've got it a couple of places around the world also. So that's something you might want to look at, is the Affiliate Summit or the Traffic and Conversion. Russ says it's at the end of February this year, Traffic and Conversion in San Diego. So that's something. There's quite a few of them. If you go to like an affiliate summit, it will be a whole trade show of those people. There'll be all kinds of them that you've never even heard of. So, and some of them specialize in particular markets. Like some of them specialize in, in training courses. Some of them specialize in, financial stuff. Some of them specialize in supplements. And, those are good places to go and see what's available and talk to the people and get contact information for people to follow up with, because you just like you've run into, you're just not going to find that online.
JVZoo's got a ton of training videos and information, but it's a little more complicated than just watching 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, Gwen asked about a Kartra's affiliate program. Kartra has an affiliate program too. If any of you are running Kartra and you've got your programs, your products, and your membership stuff on Kartra, they have their own affiliate program built right into it, and they have an affiliate network on the back side of it. So anybody that's in the Kartra network would have the ability to search, find, and sell your products right through their affiliate program. When you create your product in there, all you have to do to activate that is activate the affiliate module, and then it'll ask you, is this a private affiliate offer or is this public? And if you check off the public, then it adds it to their entire network and it makes it available to all of their affiliate army. So that's something that is just built right into Kartra, is that affiliate network.
Okay.
So I don't know that the Kartra affiliate network, in fact, I do know it's nowhere near as mature and powerful as like JVZoo or ClickBank or, any of those big ones that have been around and, running for ages. There's a lot of people in those groups that are, the top affiliates, the super affiliates, they call themselves. And, super affiliates are making $1 million a year on affiliate offers. So, if you can get a hold of one of them, they typically specialize in a particular niche. They've got a list that is very respondent to that niche, and they find products that is, that list responds to, and they make a killing. So, typically, like I said, they are very specific, and again, that goes back to ACT, that goes back to the targeting. They're not just sending they're not just blasting every offer out to their whole list, because they would destroy it by doing that. So, but yeah, I'd say probably your best bet, if you want to get on it sooner rather than later, is that traffic and conversion. And I believe it's still open. The longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. It's not a cheap show to go to. But, like I said, there's like 6,000 people in attendance. They've got a pretty good sized trade show floor, and all those vendors will definitely be there.
That's called the Digital Marketing Conference in San Diego?
Yeah, it's actually called Traffic and Conversion, and the people that put it on is digitalmarketer.com.
Oh, okay.
So it's Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher and Roland Frazier. Those are the guys behind it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Sure, absolutely, my pleasure. Let's see. Oh, another place where you might find that too. I know you've been on cruises. They're having the Marketers Cruise is leaving, I believe, toward the end of this month, and that's leaving out of Long Beach this year. And pretty sure the JV Zoo guys are going to be on that cruise.
Okay.
I know they've been on the last few years, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be on there again.
Okay.
So, if you want to go take a little vacation and rub elbows with them, that might be a good option.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. Anybody else? Let's see. What else? What else can I help you guys get out of the gate with here in the new year?
John, I have if I can jump in. No
Sure.
one else. If you have Cloudflare as the CDN or any content delivery network, as you know, that they put their own IP. If you have an origin IP for a site, and then you put it on a CDN, the CDN's IP takes over. Can Google see underneath that to the underlying origin IP?
I don't believe so, because I don't think there is an underlying origin IP at that point. The IP is wherever the content is being served from.
Okay, so
Yes.
all of these rules then about different IPs for if you have a network, different IPs, is that out the window? If everything's on a CDN, if everything's on, do those rules even matter anymore?
No, not really. I think what you're referring to is like Google doing a witch hunt on you, trying to find out what your network is all about. Is that kind of what you're?
Well, I'm interested to know like where the boundaries are. I mean, another thing you used to talk about, you can put 3 different sites on an IP, on one IP, to maximize the IP. But you used to say, be careful if they're all going upstream to the same money site, if there's 3 sites on an IP. But if Google can't really see what's on that IP, maybe that stuff doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that's correct. Like if you're in a group like a CDN where they've got certain IPs are serving thousands of different domains, you're more hidden in that cloud cover with that. If you're out there and you're buying hosting accounts, and you've got you can only buy so many hosting accounts feasibly, and then you're more exposed. But the other thing is you've got the domain registry. The domain registry ties everything all back as well. And Google does know, I mean, Google is a domain registry. They don't sell domains that I know of, but they acquired the domain registry so they'd have access to the underlying database that exists. So, they know from a domain registry who owns the domains, even if they're privately registered. That's thinking that they don't have access to that information, I think would be a little naive at this point. So yeah, the whole idea of creating, a gazillion websites to interlink, to get your linking up, really the only way that that is going to make sense at this point is if you're creating relevant content, relevant traffic, and people are actually flowing through those links. So they've really, like you said, that stuff really probably doesn't even matter anymore, because of that. And that's what I said, like with Google's RankBrain algorithm, they've done a phenomenal job at really destroying the entire SEO industry as we knew it. Now the SEO industry really is about creating relevant content. And it's about, true marketing. It's not about the quick hit and, manipulate the system and get the free traffic for 5 minutes and then we're on to the next thing. They've pretty much just done a really good job of destroying that. Oh, I did want to share, another thing with you. It comes back to, our Rainmaker product. What Rainmaker was developed for was to actually, I talk about gaming the system has become incredibly difficult. Not to say that you can't still do it. We're still doing it with that system of sending these signals to Google to train it. And here's something, I had made mention in this call earlier about creating a new brand and having an issue with Google recognizing the brand. My original brand, my original domain name that I purchased before Yahoo even purchased theirs was limboland.net. That was my original hosting company that I started with back in like 1995. And that was a very powerful domain back then. I had several million pages of content on it because I had a content generation system. And that was a very powerful, authoritative site for many, many years. I also ran commerce stores on it. I had Miva Merchant running on that domain. We had several hundred different commerce stores. Each one of them had thousands of different products, all in different niches. So it was really like I had my own YouTube type authority site between all of that. And that was on limboland.net. Over the years, I cut all that stuff out, pruned it down, but there's still pages out there that I still just can't get rid of that are still in search engines. And when I created the Internet Dominators site, I did that back in like 2010, 2011. I bought the Internet Dominator brand domain, and I've slowly been transitioning everything over to that brand for the last several years. But what would happen if you ran a search for Internet Dominators, you'd come up with the limboland.net domain. Could not get rid of that. If you ran a search for my name, it would go to the limboland.net domain. That was what would show up in Google. I ran, inbound link campaigns and different things, over the last couple of years to try and get Google to make that shift, but they never would. They would never let go of the Limboland site. Just recently, we've got our new software out, which is called SitePop. It's the new version of the Rainmaker program that runs on mobile devices. We've found this is truly the key, is getting mobile devices to react and run searches and give positive user signals. Because what happened was there was a lot of people using desktop type of modes to do this, and Google started not trusting it as much. So its value kind of lost traction over the last year. Now with adding this back in and getting mobile searches, mobile signals run on this network, it has actually shifted that back. It's actually now Google is recognizing the site for Internet Dominators because of that. So that's a pretty cool shift. And we're going to be launching that product this month. We're doing the final testing on it later today. And then it will be actually available for sale. So if any of you guys want to get in on that, that will be available here very, very soon. So it's a pretty cool deal. All right, guys. That's pretty much it for today. If anybody got any last questions or anything you want to get wrapped up for today before we roll out here? All right, well, welcome to 2019, and I look forward to working with you guys this year and getting you to the best year you've ever had. So let's do it. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we'll talk to you next week.